JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of anywhere else? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time, they talk down to us, they think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of The Herd with Colin Cowherd talking about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy still seems to be the man of the hour, man of the year, man of the season. I haven't watched this clip, but I can see in the title, it says Brock Purdy is a more efficient Jimmy G. It seems like Colin has been going back and forth with Brock. 1 minute he said Brock is not good at all. And then, in the playoffs, he said Brock really showed me something. I think he's good. He's definitely better than Jimmy G. And, and that could be the difference in winning the Super Bowl and all this. And now he's just saying he's a more efficient Jimmy G. So I want to hear his explanation and kind of how he builds his argument. And then we'll go from there.
Jimmy Garoppolo took nothing but crap as he guided the Niners to the Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo looks like a movie star. Jimmy Garoppolo was traded for and rich. He was coveted. Most men aren't. Brock Purdy is you. Overlooked, called Mr. Irrelevant, not making really any relative to the salaries of the NFL money. What a story that's relatable. But let's be honest about both Garoppolo, who you criticized, constantly blamed as a scapegoat for every loss, and Brock Purdy, who you demanded need to be in the MVP chatter. During the Super Bowl run for Garoppolo, he had one great offensive player. One. His leading receiver was Kendrick Bourne. He went to Eastern Washington University, where I went. Okay? He had George Kittle. He didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Debo was a kid, a rookie. Didn't have Brandon Ayuk. Didn't have Trent Williams. It was a defensive squad. They were thin on offense. Brock Purdy, the relatable guy, his Super Bowl run, has 5 Pro Bowlers on offense. It's arguably the greatest collection of offensive talent at skill positions in my life. The best running back since Walter Payton, Hall of Fame left tackle Trent Williams, the chess piece, Debo, Brandon Ayuk, PFF says he's the second best receiver in the league, and George Kittle. He had a stacked deck. Yet in the Super Bowl, both outplayed Garoppolo and Purdy, both outplayed Mahomes early, both had a 10-point lead, both lost to Mahomes, and both were outplayed late. Yet Garoppolo was blamed for it. Purdy, I thought he was good. That Shanahan held him down. Go back to that Super Bowl. Remember the pass Jimmy Garoppolo late in the Super Bowl missed on? I can't believe it. They should have won. Mahomes is a nobody. This pass cost them the Super Bowl. Wide open. Not really. Wide open. I can't believe that long throw. Ball carries in the air for, I don't know, 55 yards in the air. He missed him by 2. What a bum. Garoppolo took all the heat. Let's go to Sunday. Brock Purdy, a much shorter throw to an equally wide open wide receiver. It didn't hardly get press coverage. Purdy wide open, time to throw. Misses Ayuk. And then later misses Debo badly. Again, shorter throws, easier throws to make. Look how bad he misses. A touchdown here. That's a short throw. That's not a 55-yard throw in the air. He missed 2. And what's even more interesting is if you examine Purdy with a loaded offensive roster through 27 starts and Garoppolo with George Kittle through 27. It's the same guy. Brock is simply more efficient. Both went 21-6. Both completed 67% of their throws. Both throw for 248 yards a game. Brock has a higher passer rating and a little more efficient. Yeah, I would be too. With Christian McCaffrey and Debo and Ayuk and Trent Williams through 27 starts. But you don't look like Garoppolo. You weren't traded for, made rich. You weren't coveted. Brock Purdy is us, and we like us. It's hard to relate to a 7'2" NBA guy or a baseball pitcher that pitches 100 miles an hour. But football players get hit. They work in rain, snow. They play hurt. We have to go to work when we don't feel good. We feel sometimes irrelevant, like Mr. Irrelevant.
So this is an interesting point, and I also just want to call out that Colin Cowherd is like a multimillionaire and is living that private jet life. So this is no us, okay, Colin. Let's be very clear about that. You know, he is not just like a man of the people there as much as he wants to pretend like he is at times, although the other times he admits that he's not a man of the people, that he does take a private jet to like Utah and stuff to be in his mountain house to ski. But anyway, I digress. So this is an interesting thing because I've talked to a lot of 49ers fans on this channel, and there was especially earlier on in the season, all the conversations, the back and forth between Jimmy Garoppolo and all that. And a lot of people have said, that offense was not run through Jimmy and whatnot, that they really relied on like the run game and stuff like that. But I think Colin did bring up some very valid points. And just as we saw on the stats, the stats for that, and again, I'm a big proponent of not just of not just looking at stats. I think stats are just part of the picture and you got to look at it from the whole. But these stats are telling. This does not tell the story of they just 100% relied on the run game, or that the offense goes so much more through through Purdy than it does Garoppolo. You can't necessarily have that. And so Purdy has proven to be a better quarterback, but he does have a better offense as Colin just laid out. And so if you're a Purdy fan, I don't know why you still struggle admitting that this team is just better with better weapons. I really don't, because it doesn't mean that you still can't be a supporter of Purdy, or that you still can't say that Purdy is a really good quarterback. But you do have to be honest with what Purdy is. I mean, can you really say that you think that if Patrick Mahomes, and I don't even want to use Patrick Mahomes, right? Patrick Mahomes is I made fun of them for using Patrick Mahomes last time. So if you really want to say that Josh Allen or Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow, if they had this team, like how do you think Joe Burrow would have played in the Super Bowl with the 49ers in this team? You have to know that he would have played better, that he would have been able to stretch the field, that he would have been able to make better throws. He just would have. Josh Allen. What do you think Josh Allen would have done with this team? The dude is a tank. On that 3rd and 5 play run, he would have barreled through for a first down. Or at least they would have just went for it on 4th down. They would have had him barrel through it, or they would have handed a ball off to Christian McCaffrey, who gets 4 yards, right? 3 yards, whatever. And then have Josh Allen do it again and have him now, barrel through it. And that's okay because he's just so much bigger and stronger, right? And that's also kind of part of what Colin's point is also, is that it's harder to see yourself in a Josh Allen or, a Jimmy, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, those types of players, that you can see yourself more in Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's also seems to be really wholesome. He's religious. They're asking him Bible passages, right? And obviously there's a lot of Christians out there. You may be one of them. And so you might really connect to that. You see this guy as just being a good guy, saying his prayers, trying to live a good Christian, wholesome life. And you're seeing him succeed and you want to see him continue to succeed. And I totally get that. I understand that. You want to see good things happen to good people. And Brock Purdy seems like a really good person. But that doesn't mean that you have to be blind or overinflate what you see. And again, I'm on the record saying this again and again and again. I think Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I think Brock Purdy did a great job in the Super Bowl to put his team in a position to win. And it wasn't his fault that Christian McCaffrey fumbled. It wasn't his fault that there was the punt fumble. It wasn't his fault that they missed the extra point. But with that said, the truly elite, transcendent quarterbacks can overcome those things. Okay? They can put the team on their back. And the truth is, and I know he's young, and I know it, and that's why I'm not saying that he just can't do that. It's just that he hasn't been able to do that. He's done it in a couple moments in the Detroit Lions game and the Packers game. But the problem is that once you now move on from those games and get to the Super Bowl becomes your barometer, not the NFC Championship game. And that's unfortunate for Brock Purdy because he showed that he was able to step up in those moments. But now when you have to really play the best of the best, the Kansas City Chiefs, it's like, come on, let's see what you got. He wasn't able to do it. And that, again, that doesn't mean that he can't do it. Because Nick Foles, I love using this as an example, because Nick Foles balled out in the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl, okay? So if you just saw that game, if you just saw his last two games, that game, for the Eagles in that regard of that season, against Minnesota and against the Patriots, you would say Nick Foles is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. If you just saw those two games, you would say, oh my God, at the very least, he is on par with Tom Brady. You would say, if you only saw those games, you would say you cannot say Tom Brady without mentioning Nick Foles. But we know on a long enough timeline that's not the case, that he can't sustain that he was too inconsistent. He had moments when he could do that, which is amazing, and not even many players can't even do that. They can't even reach that peak. He was able to reach those peaks, but he wasn't able to maintain it. And so with Brock Purdy is a really solid, consistent quarterback. Will he be able to have these moments when he can really hit those peaks? Yes. But at what volume can he do it? And unfortunately, he was able to do it against the Packers, and he was able to do it against the Lions, but he wasn't able to do it against the Chiefs. And if he did, his story would be different right now, which is unfortunate for him. And again, that doesn't mean that he won't be able to come up big next season. It doesn't mean that next season in the Super Bowl, if he's fortunate enough to be there, and it's 3rd and 5 again, and it's a gotta-have-it first down, that he throws a 20-yard bomb, bullet to whoever, Ayuk, Kittle, whoever, and bam, that was the difference. He was able to make that throw this season, and he wasn't able last season. That's, looking to the future. That's definitely a possibility. But to just automatically say he can do it, and anyone who says he can't is a fool, I don't think that's the appropriate way to go about doing it. You just can't go too high or too low in these regards. These things take time. And the reason why, because then a lot of people then say, they counter and say, well, why is everyone, so dead set on judging Purdy right now? This is his first full season as a starter. Yes, that's true. He has played these 27 games, which is at this point is a chunk of change. And he is with an elite team. He is with an elite coach. Yes, Shanahan's not perfect. He's imperfect, but so is Andy Reid. So is Bill Belichick. So is every coach under the sun. No one is perfect. And yes, his weapons didn't step up enough in the Super Bowl. But again, you can't just rely on those weapons all the time. And that has always been the argument, right? The argument of people who say that Brock Purdy's so great and it's not his weapons. They always say, well, he makes those weapons better. Well, then if you think that's true, then why didn't he make them better in the Super Bowl? You have to kind of reconcile with that question. And so again, please don't take this as Brock Purdy hate. I've said I think Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. He's definitely better than Garoppolo, and I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he's a top 10 quarterback right now, at least with this team. Do I think Brock Purdy would be taking the Panthers to the playoffs or the Super Bowl? Absolutely, positively not. I also don't think Patrick Mahomes is taking the Panthers to the Super Bowl or the playoffs. So you have to understand what the bar is and what the grading scale is. And that just is what it is. It just is what it is. Brock Purdy will have limitations, just like even a Drew Brees has. Just like even a Lamar Jackson has. There's only a few quarterbacks who really just had no limitations. Or they were so amazing at other aspects of their games, their limitations, like a Tom Brady with his lack of mobility technically. he was so transcendent, so brilliant, so intelligent, so refined that he was able to overcome that, especially because that was just during a time when quarterbacks were not that mobile. And obviously Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. So Brock Purdy will have to get better to truly be that dude. But if he just stays at this level, he'll be a really good quarterback. But he needs also some really good things to fall in his favor to be able to truly get over that hump and win a Super Bowl. And that's the difference. That's the difference between someone who's being truly elite and not, is that they can overcome that being down by 10. They could overcome a rolled ankle, an injury to a key wide receiver, or, an imperfect play call. They can overcome that. And that's my point. We've seen Patrick Mahomes do that. We've seen Jalen Hurts do that. We've seen Joe Burrow do that. Josh Allen do that. And again, those are not all Super Bowl winning MVPs. They've had bad seasons. They've had great seasons. But their peaks have really shown, whoa, look what they can do. And Brock Purdy hasn't done that enough just yet. So I'm really excited to see what he does next season. To me, next season is when we really evaluate Brock Purdy now. Because now it's a second season. He's healthy this off season. He's not recovering from an injury. And we can really see what he can do. And we can really evaluate him. And I'm really excited because I'm rooting for him. I want to see him succeed. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think the 49ers have a great chance at getting right back up there. As long as they stay healthy, they have a great chance at getting right back up there into the Super Bowl. So we shall see. But what do you all think? Do you think Brock Purdy is just a more efficient Jimmy G and that's it? Or do you think he's way better than Jimmy G and he's a top 3, 4, 5 quarterback? Let me know in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really, really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.